HALT Tiger is a really brilliant Mickey Mouse Funhouse episode. This basically presents this beautiful metaphor that I think is so thought-provoking. This is the first segment of the 14th episode of the second season of Mickey Mouse Funhouse, and they go to Shadow Mountain, which is this magical area in the land of myth and legend where characters can shapeshift. And they meet various characters, including Sook, and they have a picnic and everything's going really well. But Daisy is doing her own thing. She's off playing with some other characters, and she doesn't want to eat when the others are. She doesn't want to nap when the others are. And because she's not listened to what her body needs, she's not listened to the fact that her body needs to refuel, she's not listened to the fact that her body needs to nap, she starts to become cranky and experience all of these negative emotions, and as a result of that, something happens to her, and I'll talk about that with a spoiler warning in a moment. I can't really say too much about the message or indeed the metaphor here without spoiling what happens to Daisy, but I'll just sum up briefly first. I think Shadow Mountain is a beautiful area. It's very, very well animated. It's visually so stunning. And I think the narrative flowed really well, the progression of the narrative was great, and the way it encourages the viewer to think about their feelings, and also to think about what their body needs and what they need, and to listen to that and respond to that is really important, especially for young children, but not exclusively. Obviously, a lot of young children refuse to have naps, and even though their body is saying, I'm exhausted, I'm going to have a crying tantrum because I'm so tired, but I'm still going to refuse to nap. And obviously for very young children, this concept's a little bit too advanced, but for slightly older children who are starting to learn about feelings and how to recognize what they're feeling, it can help them to begin to realize that actually you're irritable because you need to nap. So lie down and go to sleep, which I think is always really important. But for anybody of any age, I think encouraging us all to be more aware of our feelings and responding to that, and realizing that sometimes we need things. It's all about self-care and self-love, and Daisy ignored those things because she just wanted to play and run around, and it didn't work well for her. So it's really such a beautiful episode, and then this metaphor comes in. So I guess I'll discuss with a spoiler warning from now what happened to Daisy and why I thought this was really wonderful, and something that can encourage children to turn their own feelings into a metaphor. So, spoilers from now. Once Daisy has ignored these things that she needs to do for herself, she shapeshifts, because of the magic of the mountains, into this beautiful purple and white tiger. Absolutely gorgeous. But she's become this tiger who is, well, snarly and not in a very good mood, and kind of wandering, pacing back and forth, very irritable, very bad-tempered, and it's a representation of her feelings. We have this metaphor. Daisy, well, her emotions are a tiger, and I think that that's absolutely brilliant. And to ask a young child who may not be able to verbalize exactly how they're feeling, but to ask them what kind of animal their feelings are, or maybe a simile would be slightly easier for children. What are your feelings like? I think maybe asking a child to say what an animal their feelings are might confuse them, but to encourage them to think of it as at least a simile, if not a metaphor, is a really great way to get children to think about how they feel. A lot of animals have very, iconic personalities. Top of my head, pigs are quite lazy. Monkeys are quite hyperactive. When you see them in children's cartoons, certain animals have very specific characteristics that we see time and time again, so children can relate those actions to perhaps how they're feeling. And I think that that's such a wonderful thing, and a really great way to help children to come to terms with how they're feeling, and work out how they're feeling, and to represent it in ways that maybe they can't quite verbalize. It is maybe a little bit advanced in some cases. It will depend on the child, but either way, I think it's a wonderful thing to at least encourage. And it's beautifully presented in this episode. The tiger is gorgeous. I love the design of the tiger. And I had a lot of fun with this episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very beneficial, beautifully animated, really great story. Easily one of the best Mickey Mouse Funhouse episodes.